I'm still against doing a webcam recording again, so just got this stock picture off of Google Images. Long, long ago, I remember sitting down and reading every single day to somebody. I'm going to read a little bit of a book called You Can Count on Me. It's written by Corin Friels, illustrated by Lizzie Walkley, and I'll probably reread a little bit of the Winnie the Pooh book. Why is that? Maybe one day I'll get a chance to actually reread these books to a person again. But like I said, even if he is a bit old for it now. But most important thing is he's happy where he is. Tempted to stop the recording and just delete everything, but well, at least I shouldn't feel nervous about trying to read a book. It's weird to feel kind of stage fright about this. But I've always done everything in my power to try to be the best dad in the world. Most important thing is he's happy where he is. He's in the best possible place for him. So where he is right now is a good place. And I'm happy that I always want what's best for him, and where he is right now is where it's best for him. Still see him sometimes, but he's kind of old for these books. But heck, if I could read these books to him every single day still, I would. Well, story, you can count on me. I always will love my son and will always be very proud of him. And I'll always be there for him anytime he needs me. Also on the back, it literally says on the back of the book, let your little one know that you'll always be there no matter what. And I will be. As long as my health and everything allows. Which should be fine because maybe I should just cut down on the energy drinks. But you can count on me. If you should ever need someone to brighten up your day, just count on me and you will see I won't be far away. Let's say you spill your berries. Look, I'll spill my berries too. Oh wait, instead of dropping mine, I've got enough for two. And should there be some trouble or a mishap in your plan, I'll be right there to help you out as quickly as I can. Whenever you are feeling sick, I'll rush there in a minute to fix you up some soup. If spooky things sneak in your dreams, then I will chase them out. I'll show that spooky stuff who's boss with one enormous shout. If someone hurts your feelings, I'll be there to wipe your tears and help you keep out all their words by plugging up your ears. Let's say you fall and scrape your knee or get a painful sting. To make sure that you're A-okay, I'll bandage everything. If you do something well, I'll celebrate how great you are. Get ready for a great grand parade where you will be the star. If things don't seem to go your way, or when you're full of smiles, I'll wrap you in a big bear hug and sit with you a while. No matter what tomorrow brings, I'll show you that I care. Just count on me like 1, 2, 3. I promise I'll be there. If you have enjoyed this book, or it has touched your life in some way, we would love to hear from you. Please send comments to Hallmark Book Feedback, P.O. Box 419-034, Mail Drop 100, Kansas City, MO 64141, or email us at booknotes@hallmark.com. It's a great book. Now, as far as the Winnie the Pooh storybook collection, now I don't know how much I'll be able to read because my battery is at 84%, which is odd because when it was at 87%, it said 2 hours and 7 minutes, but now that it says 84%, the estimation is, well, it did say 1 hour, 1 minute. I took the hours off, and now it says 1 hour, 14, and now it says, okay, it's staying at, but it's 8, okay. Main point being is I'm sitting in my son's room, and, well, I refuse to take the charger out of my bedroom, so I'll read as long as my battery allows. Winnie the Pooh, A Portrait of Friendship. Piglet painted pictures of everything in the 100-acre wood. He painted the tall, leafy trees, and the bright yellow sun, and flowers of every size and color. One day, Piglet decided he wanted to paint what he loved best of all in the wood, his friends. Piglet asked Pooh, Rabbit, Kangaroo, and the rest of his friends if they would each sit for a portrait. I'd be honored, said Pooh. Everyone else felt the same way. I'm going to take a drink real quick. The next day, Piglet set up his studio outside in the sunshine. He was ready to begin with Pooh. Piglet soon saw Pooh heading his way, but he walked right by. Pooh, wait, cried Piglet. It's time to sit for your portrait. Oh, is that now? Pooh asked. I thought it was time to fill up my honey pot and my tummy. Pooh didn't want to let down his friend. All right, Piglet, he said. You can paint my picture now. I'm sure my tummy can wait, he added, though he was not at all certain. Now try to sit still, Pooh, Piglet said. Pooh did, but his tummy did not. It rumbled to the left, and it rumbled to the right. Finally, Pooh's tummy rumbled him up onto his feet. Sorry, Piglet, but perhaps now is not a good time to sit still after all, said Pooh, as he picked up his honey pot and followed his tummy. Piglet tried painting Rabbit next. He worked for a few minutes, and then gave Rabbit a bunch of carrots to hold. These remind me of my garden, said Rabbit, jumping up, and my garden reminds me that I have work to do. I'm sorry, Piglet, but we'll have to finish another time. Rabbit hurried off. Tigger had no trouble with Piglet painting his picture. The trouble was all Piglet's, since Tigger couldn't stop bouncing with excitement. Sorry, Piglet, but bouncing is what Tiggers do best, Tigger cried. While Piglet waited for Tigger to stop bouncing, Kanga and Roo arrived. They were excited to have their family portrait painted. But Tigger was so excited to see Roo, he snatched up his little buddy and the two bounced off into the wood. Piglet had much better luck with Eeyore, who sat as still and as gray as a rock. Eeyore, yours is the only portrait I've been able to finish, said Piglet. That's too bad, said Eeyore. Everyone else had too much to do, said Piglet. I'm just doing what I always do too. Not much, said Eeyore. Then he lumbered off to do not much somewhere else. Piglet thought for a moment. That's it, he cried. I need to paint my friends, doing what they always do. Piglet packed up his art supplies and went to find Pooh. He painted Pooh following a bee. Then he painted several bees following Pooh. Piglet especially liked the painting he did of Pooh, finally getting a smackerel of honey. Piglet went to Rabbit's garden next. Instead of asking Rabbit to stay still, he stood and painted while his subject moved about in his garden. He painted several wonderful scenes of Rabbit at work. As for Tigger, It gave Piglet a bit of a headache to follow his bouncing with his eyes, but he finally managed to paint Tigger's portrait. Piglet couldn't wait to show everyone his portraits. He invited his friends to view them. Pooh and the others walked around and looked at one painting after another. They were very silent, which was unusual. Piglet began to worry. Did his friends not like his artwork? Finally, Pooh cleared his throat. "I'd like to say how wonderful your paintings are, Piglet." Then he looked thoughtful. "I'd also like to apologize." "Whatever for, Pooh?" asked Piglet. "For saying I'd sit still for you, and then, well, not sitting still," said Pooh. Everyone else agreed with Pooh, everyone except Eeyore. "Thank you," Piglet said, "but sitting still isn't what anybody does best." He looked at Eeyore. "Except Eeyore, that is." Piglet continued, "Everyone is good at something different. My paintings show you all doing the something you love best. They will always remind me," he added, "of how lucky I am to have so many unique and wonderful friends." Now let's check battery power. It says 1 hour and 23 minutes at 78% remaining. I don't really understand the battery's estimation stuff. Winnie the Pooh, hide and Pooh seek. It was a lovely spring day in the 100-acre wood. A nice day like this calls for a game, Christopher Robin declared. "A game? What sort of game?" asked Winnie the Pooh. Christopher Robin smiled. "Let's play hide and go seek." "Hide and go what now?" Rabbit asked. "One of us closes his eyes and counts to 100. Christopher Robin explained. "Meanwhile, the rest of us hide. I'm going to take another drink." Christopher Robin tugged gently on Pooh's ear. "Tag, you're it, Pooh Bear." Pooh rubbed his ear. "What is it that I am exactly?" Now Pooh was a bear of very little brain, but he soon figured out what was happening. He was supposed to cover his eyes, count to 100, and then find his friends. "I know the perfect hiding place," he said, licking his lips hungrily. "The honey tree." He rushed to the honey tree. "Aha! Found you!" he cried. Pooh looked around in surprise. The bees were there, the honey was there, but his friends were not. Pooh thought about helping himself to some honey, but then he had another thought. "They must be hiding in Rabbit's garden," Pooh said. But Pooh's friends weren't hiding in Rabbit's garden. They also weren't in Pooh's favorite spot in the meadow, where he liked to lie and watch the clouds, or in his comfy bed, or even at his thoughtful spot. "Oh, bother," Pooh said. Just then Kanga came by. "Do you know where Roo is?" She asked. "Well, I know where he's not," Pooh said. "He's not in any of my favorite spots." Kanga chuckled. "That's no surprise," she said kindly. "Roo has lots of his own favorite spots." Pooh realized Kanga was right. He'd searched his favorite places, but if he wanted to find his friends, he had to check their favorite places. Pooh went straight to the hollow log near Piglet's house. He peered inside, and there was Piglet. "I'm glad you found me, Pooh," Piglet admitted. "It's awfully dark in here." "Will you help me find the others?" Pooh asked. "Let's figure out where Roo might like to hide." Together, Pooh and Piglet found Roo, hiding and playing in the sandy pit. They all figured out that Tigger might be hiding in his favorite bouncing spot. Then they found Rabbit in his cornfield, picking corn while he hid there. Eeyore was in his favorite thistle patch. Owl was there too. "I must finish my story later," Owl told Eeyore, as they joined the others. "Yes, I suppose you must," Eeyore said, with a sigh. Finally, only Christopher Robin was missing. "Oh dear," Piglet said. "What if we never find him?" "We probably won't," Eeyore said. sounding gloomy. Then Pooh remembered something. Christopher Robin likes to climb trees, he said. Let's look up. They all looked up. And there he is, Roo cried. You were right, Pooh. Christopher Robin climbed down from his hiding spot. Well done, Pooh Bear, he said. Let's play again, Tigger cried. This time, Piglet's it. As Piglet began counting, the others all hurried off to find hiding spots. Where will you hide, Pooh? Christopher Robin asked. The honey tree, of course, Pooh said. Piglet will know exactly how to find me there. Christopher Robin laughed. Silly old bear. Checking the battery. Says 74%, an hour and 15 minutes. The sweetest of friends. Good morning, Piglet. Good morning, Pooh. It was another day in the 100-acre wood. That meant it was another day for best friends Pooh and Piglet to be together. Pooh, I made some acorn pie, said Piglet. Said Pooh. That will go lovely with some honey on top. The two friends sat down and had a bite to eat. When the last drop of sweet, sticky honey had disappeared inside Pooh's tummy, he stood up. It feels like nap time, he said, as he usually did after having a sizable smackerel of honey. Piglet answered, I think a nap is a splendid idea, Pooh, but perhaps you could be persuaded to take a walk first? Pooh stretched and yawned. Lead the way, Piglet, said Pooh. This morning was not unlike any other. Each day was a different adventure. In the fall, Pooh and Piglet played in the piles of leaves. Sorry, I had to move my legs a little bit when my legs started falling asleep. I'm trying to get feeling back in my right leg. I should be sitting Indian style like this. I probably should have sat in a chair. In the fall, Pooh and Piglet played in piles of leaves. In the winter, they made snow angels. In the spring, they watched as the 100-acre wood became green again. In the summer, they picked fragrant flowers. Sometimes Pooh and Piglet would visit their other friends together. The two often went to Rabbit's house at mealtimes. They listened to many a family story from Owl. They helped Kanga with her knitting, and they flew kites with Christopher Robin. Everyone knew that where there was Pooh, there was Piglet. One day, when the two were out walking, a bee went by. Without hesitation, Pooh in his tummy followed it. But at the same exact time the bee flew by in one direction, a beautiful butterfly fluttered by in another. Piglet ran after the butterfly to get a closer look, and so the best friends parted ways without even realizing it. Through his binoculars, Piglet watched with delight as the colorful butterfly went from flower to flower. He looked closely at its lovely wings. Would you like to look at the butterfly with my binoculars, Pooh? Piglet asked without looking behind him. He thought Pooh was nearby. As usual, it's really quite a lovely creature. Instead of an approving snore, there was only silence. Pooh turned toward the tree where Pooh liked to nap, but there was no bear napping there. In fact, there was no bear there at all. Oh dear, said Piglet alarmed. What has happened to you, Pooh? Piglet wondered where Pooh had gone off to without him. Or rather, had Piglet been the one to go off without Pooh? In either case, Piglet had to find his friend. He hurried off. He wasn't sure where he was headed, but he knew he'd be there when Pooh was there too. I'm going to take a drink of water. Meanwhile, Pooh had finished his encounter with the bee, or rather bees, and was having similar thoughts about Piglet. Not at all sure how he had wound up without Piglet or honey, Pooh resolved to find the first one, and then the other one. Eventually, Pooh and Piglet came across each other on a path through the 100-acre wood. There you are, Pooh, cried Piglet. But where were you? I'm so excited to see you again, Piglet, Pooh said. I'm not quite sure where I was, only where I wasn't. I will make sure to say goodbye next time, said Piglet, smiling when he realized that there would be a next time. And I shall as well, Pooh said. It would appear that together or apart, we're still the best of friends, said Piglet. Yes, that is how it would appear, Pooh agreed. What would you like to do tomorrow? Asked Piglet. Perhaps we can meet for breakfast, said Pooh. Oh, that's a splendid idea, said Piglet. And then maybe we can take a walk. Wonderful, said Pooh. Check the battery. It says an hour and 20 minutes, but 70%. I'm not sure how my computer estimates time. Bounce with me. One day, Tigger was in a hurry to reach one of his favorite bouncing spots. He was too impatient to bounce all the way to the bridge and then bounce across it. Instead, he just bounced right over the stream. Hoo hoo, hoo hoo, he cried. I just invented a new game, a superific one, which isn't all that surprising, since inventing games is what Tiggers do best. Tigger couldn't wait to tell his friends about his game. He bounced across the stream and landed on Eeyore's house. Guess what? Tigger said. I just invented a new bouncing game. It's called He paused to think. Take your time, Eeyore said with a sigh. I wasn't doing anything important anyway. It's called Bounce Over the Brook, Tigger finished at last. Bob for short. I'm best Bob player ever, Tigger went on. Bet you can't beat me. I bet you're right, Eeyore agreed gloomily. I'm not much of a bouncer. Just give it a try, Tigger said. One little bounce. Eeyore tried to bounce, but his feet hardly left the ground. That's what you call a bounce, Tigger exclaimed. Clearly, bouncing is not what Eeyores do best. Eeyore sighed again. Told you so. Since Eeyore couldn't play with him, Tigger bounced over to Pooh's house. Pooh and Piglet were there, sharing some honey. Hello, Tigger cried, bouncing Pooh right off his feet, and a honey pot right onto Piglet's head. Hello, Tigger, Pooh said. Care for a smackle of honey? Tiggers do not like honey, Tigger said, but they do like playing Bob. Bob, Piglet said, confused. Who's that? It's not a who, it's a what. Come on, I'll show you. Tigger bounced off without waiting for a reply. Pooh and Piglet followed Tigger to the stream, where Tigger explained his new game. You just bounce over, like this. He demonstrated 10 or 11 times. Give it a try, Pooh boy. Pooh had never really bounced before, but Tigger made it look like fun. Pooh bent his knees, he swung his arms, he pushed off, splash. Pooh sat up. He hadn't made it across the stream. He was in the stream, feeling like a soggy bear of great dampness. Bouncing is not what Pooh Bears do best, Tigger declared. Eventually Tigger ended up at Kanga's house, hoping to find Roo. Kanga was home, baking a cake. I'm sorry, dear. Roo is out playing in the wood, Kanga said kindly. I'm not sure when he'll be back, but you can come in and help me bake my cake if you like. Tigger was excited to help, but when he accidentally bounced Kanga's batter right off the table, a thought occurred to him. His bouncing was something his friends did not like at all. Tigger left Kanga's house and bounced toward the stream, but his bounces kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Finally, they weren't really bounces at all. What was the point? None of his friends even liked his bouncing. It was no wonder Tigger couldn't find anyone to play Bob with him. A game's not much fun if you've got nobody to play with, Tigger muttered. Feeling lonely is not what Tiggers do best. Suddenly, Tigger heard laughter coming from just ahead. I recognize that laugh, Tigger said. He bounced toward the sound and soon spotted Roo. Hi, Tigger, Roo said. Hi, little buddy, Tigger said. Want to do some bouncing? I just invented a great new game. Tigger and Roo bounced to the stream, and Tigger showed Roo how to play Bob. This is great, Roo cried. as he and Tigger bounced from one side of the stream to the other. "Look at me, Tigger. Whee! Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo!" Tigger cried. Playing Bob is what Tiggers and Roos do best. It was true. Tigger had finally found the perfect friend to bounce with him. Meanwhile, the friends met to discuss Tigger. "I think Bob is a splendid game for Tigger," Owl began. "It does keep him away from my garden," Rabbit admitted. "I'll stay much cleaner," Piglet said brightly. "And I'll stay much drier," said Pooh. So it was decided Bob was the perfect game for Tigger. Tigger was having such fun that he didn't notice his friends arriving. Suddenly he heard clapping. "That was a fine bounce, Tigger," Pooh called out. "Good show, little Roo," Owl added. The rest of Tigger's friends were there as well, clapping and cheering, which made Tigger bounce higher than ever. Tigger's friends might not be very good at bouncing, but cheering on their friends, well, that was what they all did best. Check the battery. Says 1 hour 8 minutes, 63% remaining. The Pooh Sticks game. It had been a particularly windy night in the 100-acre wood. So windy, in fact, that when Eeyore opened his eyes the next morning, he found himself looking up at the sky. The wind had toppled his house of sticks on top of him. Eeyore had just moved all the sticks into a nice tidy pile when Pooh and Piglet happened by on their morning walk. "Why, Eeyore," Pooh said, "I see you've changed your house. Where, may I ask, is the front door? Or the back door, for that matter?" "We'd be happy to help you rebuild your house," said Piglet. "Indeed we would," said Pooh. He picked up a stick. "Those sticks don't want to stick together anymore," Eeyore said. "It's time to get new ones." Pooh scratched his head. Suddenly the bear of very little brain had a big idea. "Eeyore," he said, "if you have no use for these sticks, I believe I know something they'd be good for. A game of Pooh Sticks." "Pooh Sticks," said Piglet, clapping his hands. It had been a long time since the friends had played this game. In Pooh Sticks, several players each drop a stick, one over one side of the bridge, into the water. The one whose stick emerges first from under the other side of the bridge is declared the winner. It took some doing, but Eeyore managed to make it to the bridge with the sticks. Eager to begin the game, everyone grabbed a stick and ran to one side of the bridge. They all threw their sticks in at once. Then they hurried to the other side. The first stick floated out after a minute. The problem was that everyone was rather certain the first stick was the one they had chosen, until more sticks began to emerge. All the sticks looked so much alike, no one could tell who had won. "If it could just be me," said Eeyore, "but this game isn't as much fun as I remember." "I think," said Christopher Robin, "that there are too many of us playing at the same time. Maybe we should take turns, like we used to. Take turns instead of sticks." "I don't remember doing that." "No, no," Christopher Robin hurried to explain. "Take turns with the sticks." He looked at the sticks. They all looked the same. "We need to mark these sticks so we know whose is whose." "I am just the thing for that," cried Piglet, who hurried off and returned with his paints. "Everyone should paint their stick so they can recognize it. I'll paint mine yellow." "Splendid idea, Piglet," said Owl, who painted his stick green, like the leaves of his home. Tigger painted black and orange stripes down his stick. Rabbit made his entire stick orange to resemble a carrot. Each friend painted their stick a different color. Everyone gathered into groups of 3. Pooh stepped up to the railing with Roo and Piglet. "Ready, set, throw," called Rabbit. 3 sticks went into the water. and floated under the bridge. After a few minutes, Pooh's red stick came out. Hooray! Next, Kanga, Rabbit, and Owl lined up and waited for Christopher Robin to give them the signal to drop their sticks. Kanga dropped hers with a flick of her wrist. Rabbit sent his down tip first, and Owl's released his as gently as if he were shedding a feather. They hurried to the other side, just in time to see Kanga's pretty pink stick emerge. Christopher Robin, Tigger, and Eeyore were the last three to play. On the count of three, said Owl. 1, 1.5, 2, 2 3/8, 3. Christopher Robin let his stick roll off his palm. Tigger dropped his mid-bounce. Eeyore did a twitchy move and opened his mouth to release his stick. Eeyore's twitchy move worked. He won his round. Didn't expect that, he said, with the tiniest hint of a smile. Everyone was so excited they couldn't wait for the final round to begin. Pooh, Kanga, and Eeyore wished each other good luck. Piglet waved a leaf as a signal to start. 3 Pooh sticks swam into the water and disappeared under the bridge. A lone gray stick floated toward in first place. Eeyore could hardly believe his eyes. Hooray for Eeyore! Everyone shouted at once. You won. Must be a mistake, said the disbelieving donkey. No, Eeyore, Christopher Robin laughed. We followed the rules and took turns. It's no mistake. You won fair and square. Taking turns, said Eeyore. Who knew? Just then he remembered that he still needed a house. He turned to go. Wait, said Eeyore. We're still going to help you build your house. Eeyore looked back. You are, he asked. We can take turns adding sticks to it, said Roo excitedly. Because that's what friends do, said Christopher Robin. Okay, let's check the battery. It says 58 minutes, 56% remaining. Don't be ridiculous. One sunny afternoon, Roo and Tigger were bouncing together in the 100-acre wood. Roo looked up at a nearby tree. Let's see who can reach that branch first, he cried. You got it, little buddy, said Tigger. Roo jumped up, 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 but he still couldn't come anywhere near the tree branch. Tigger touched it easily, and when Roo came down, he lost his balance and landed in a bed of flowers. Picking some flowers for your mama? Asked Tigger. I guess, said Roo sadly. What's the matter, little buddy? Asked Tigger. I wish I could bounce as high as you, said Roo. Don't be ridiculous, said Tigger. You bounce pretty good for a little fella. Tigger picked some flowers and handed them to Roo. Besides, he added as he bounced off, bouncing is what Tiggers do best. Roo sighed into the flowers. I wish I weren't so small, he said. He looked up at the tree. One day, he said out loud, I want to reach that branch and swing from it. Pardon me for interrupting, but perhaps I can help, said Winnie the Pooh, who was on his way back from Piglet's house. Do you really think so, Pooh? Asked Roo, looking at his friend with interest. Perhaps he thought Pooh really did know something about how to be bigger. Why, yes, said Pooh. He took the flowers out of Roo's arms and lifted up his little friend. Pooh carried Roo until they were underneath the tree branch in question. Then he held Roo up. Pooh had to stand on his tippy toes, and Roo had to stretch his arms as high as they would go. But it worked. Roo was able to reach the tree branch. Whee! Cried Roo as he swung from the branch. I'll rest here while you play, and make sure you get down safely. Just let me know when you're ready, said Pooh. No sooner had Pooh's back touched the tree than he fell asleep. Roo swung happily for a few minutes. Then his arms got tired. Oh, Pooh, he called down. But zzz, zee, 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 was Pooh's response. Roo didn't want to wake Pooh, so he scrambled up onto the branch. Now he could swing his legs, which was much easier than swinging by his arms. Even so, Roo began to grow bored. If I were bigger, he thought, I could get down by myself. After what seemed like a long time to Roo, he heard someone coming. It was Christopher Robin. Not terribly surprised to find Pooh snoozing against a tree, Christopher Robin was very surprised to find Roo sitting in the tree. Roo explained what had happened. "I can help you down," said Christopher Robin, who didn't want to wake Pooh either. He held out his arms, and Roo jumped safely into them. Once back on the ground, Roo thanked Christopher Robin, then he scooped up the flowers and unhappily headed home. The next day, Roo went off to have a good long sulk. He wasn't sure why, but sulking reminded him of Eeyore, and without really planning it, Roo wound up at his friend's house of sticks. Eeyore wasn't home, so Roo sat down to wait for him to return. Absent-mindedly, he picked up a stick that had fallen from Eeyore's house. As Roo examined it, he began thinking it would be useful for lots of things besides Eeyore's house. A Pooh stick, a pretend sword. Suddenly Roo had an idea. "That's it," he cried. "I know just what to do." And he hurried off. Roo stopped by Rabbit's house and borrowed a hammer and nails. Then he went into the woods and collected as many sticks as he could find. Roo began to nail the sticks to a very tall tree. Before long he had a ladder that he could climb to reach the tree branches without anyone's help. Roo couldn't help but feel rather proud of himself. He resolved to make ladders on several more trees, but for now he climbed the tree in front of him and happily swung from its branches. Roo was unaware of how much time had passed until he heard his mother's worried cry, "Roo!" Then he heard Rabbit, Owl, Tigger, and Pooh calling him too. "I'm up here," he shouted. Everyone quickly gathered by the tree. "Roo," said Kanga, "how on earth did you get up there?" Roo pointed to his ladder. Then he admitted to Kanga and the others how small he had been feeling. "That's using your noggin," said Tigger, admiring the ladder. "There's nothing small about your brain, little buddy." Roo grinned from ear to ear as he climbed down. "I'm so proud of you, dear," Kanga said. "You didn't give up. You kept at it until you figured out how to feel bigger. And don't worry," she added, "you will be bigger soon enough." Kanga lifted a tired little Roo into her pouch. "But for now, you're just the right size." Let's check the battery. 44 minutes, 50%. Friendly bothers. Rabbit liked to keep things neat and tidy. His house was neat and tidy. His larder was neat and tidy. His garden was neat and tidy. There was just one problem. Rabbit's friends weren't all neat and tidy, especially certain friends. "Howdy, old long-ears," Tigger cried, scattering rakes, watering cans, and turnips every which way. "Isn't it a stupendous day for bouncing?" Then Rabbit turned to see Pooh, digging up the spot where he had just planted his turnips. "What are you doing?" he cried. "I dug a hole so you can plant your turnips again where Tigger bounced them," Pooh explained helpfully. "No," Rabbit screeched. "Must you two make a mess everywhere you go? Get out now." "What are you trying to say, Long-ears?" Tigger said. "Get out." Rabbit howled at the top of his lungs. Pooh and Tigger turned to go. "Sorry, Rabbit," Pooh called over his shoulder. Rabbit had just started collecting the scattered honey pots when he heard someone coming. "I said get out," he shouted. Then he turned and saw that it was Kanga and Roo. Sorry about the shouting," he told them. "I thought you were someone else." "Who'd you think we were, Rabbit?" Roo asked curiously. "And why'd you tell him to get out?" "I thought you were Tigger and Pooh," Rabbit frowned as he thought about the pair. "They've been messing about my place all day long. I can't take it any more." Little Roo looked sad. "Does that mean Tigger and Pooh aren't your friends any more?" he asked. Rabbit shrugged. "Never thought of it that way." "But you told them to get out and not come back," Roo said. "That doesn't sound very friendly," he sighed. "I'd sure miss Tigger and Pooh if they weren't my friends any more." "I would too," dear Kanga said. "Pooh has the warmest heart in 100 Acre Wood. His visits always make me happy. Roo nodded. And Tigger's lots of fun. He never gets tired of playing, and he always lets me pick the game. I think you could be a little bit more patient with your friends, Kanga told Rabbit kindly. Bah, Rabbit said. I don't know how to be that patient. All good gardeners know how to be patient, Kanga said. You're right about that. Rabbit looked around at his tiny garden. Gardening's hard work, and it takes time, he frowns. That's why it's so infuriating when Tigger bounces through and wrecks the place. But you don't get upset with the wind when it blows leaves in your garden, do you? Kanga inquired. Rabbit shook his head. A blustery day can make a mess, but the wind helps spread seeds and pollen. Do you get mad when your garden needs water? She asked. Don't be silly, Rabbit said. Every garden needs water to grow. I give my garden as much water as it needs, even if it means filling the watering can 20 times. See? Roo clapped his hands. You are patient, Rabbit. Rabbit wasn't sure what to think. Well, maybe I am. The following day, Tigger and Pooh paid Rabbit another visit. Are you still upset with us, Rabbit? Pooh asked. Before Rabbit could answer, a gust of wind grabbed his hat and blew it into a tall tree. Drat, my hat, Rabbit cried. Leave it to me, Tigger said. I'll get it back for you. He bounced way up into the tree and grabbed the hat, and then landed again right in Rabbit's pumpkin patch. For a moment Rabbit saw red. But the wind reminded him of what Kanga had said. Tigger made a mess sometimes, just like the wind, but he was only trying to help. Thank you, Tigger, Rabbit said as patiently as he could. Your bouncing does come in handy now and then. Still, I should help pick up these honey pots, Rabbit, Pooh offered. I can even double check to make sure there's no honey left in them. He reached for one honey pot, but he accidentally knocked over Rabbit's watering can. Oh no, Rabbit cried. But the water made him remember Kanga's words again. Pooh needed a lot of honey to keep his tummy happy, just like Rabbit's garden needed a lot of water to make it grow. And now that Rabbit thought about it, a few smackles of honey were a small price to pay for Pooh's cheerful visits. Thank you, Pooh, he said patiently. I was about to water that part of the garden anyway. From then on, Rabbit still tried to keep things neat and tidy, but it didn't bother him as much when Pooh ate all his honey. It didn't get quite as aggravating when Tigger was a little too bouncy. Instead, he tried to be patient and looked for the good things in Pooh, Tigger, and all of his other friends in the wood. After all, that's what friends were for. Check the battery. 43%. Remaining 43 minutes. So, looks like we're exactly halfway through the book. I'm trying to decide if I should try to read it anymore. I think that's a good stopping point. I hope all of you had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.